Welcome back to In Depth, your weekly podcast from Press Xpress about news and newsmakers from India, Bangladesh, and beyond. We bring you an in depth look at the top stories that are making headlines. I'm Tulika, your host from Delhi. Now, Bangladesh is heading towards a very crucial election in the next few months. And the US ambassador to Bangladesh, Peter Haas, made a very significant remark this week, saying that the new US visa policy restrictions will also apply to journalists and the media community in Bangladesh. Now, the US State Department hasn't officially accepted or denied this statement. So, where does this confusion lead us to? Are there immediate concerns about freedom of the press? To talk about this and to give us a more in depth insight into what is really happening there, I have two amazing stalwarts from the media community in Bangladesh. And I'm happy to first introduce Mr. Deep Azad. He's the head of news of Nagarik TV, and he's also the general secretary of the Bangladesh Federal Journalist Union. Welcome, sir. Well, thank you for joining us today. And I want to first start by asking you this. As a working journalist, what's your immediate reaction to the statement that Peter Haas has made? Does it bother you?
Thank you, Tulika. Also, thank you, my big brother and our senior most artist, Mr. Manjul Islam, and thank to Press Xpress. Uh, First, I want to see this visa policy as that this is very much internal subject to USA, United States of America.
Yeah.
When I heard the news from a news channel that they published the news that mass media will include it to their visa policy. I'm very much surprised as a journalist.
You also represent Bangladesh's largest journalist union. How is this statement affecting the journalistic sentiment right now?
I don't think that this policy, visa policy, will impose any kind of pressure on us because we think our frontline media is very much professional. As a professional journalist, we didn't feel any kind of pressure from it. But I am surprised. I already told you that I am really
Okay.
surprised why they
Well,
included us.
I did to
That
your
as a visa
sentiment on
policy.
that surprise. Definitely. I did to your sentiment on that surprise. And on that note, I also want to introduce my next guest. He is Monshurul Islam. He is the editor in chief of TBC News TV. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank
Well,
you, Tulika.
thank you for your time to us today. And you just heard Deep speak about the U.S. visa curbs. He's surprised, but he feels that journalists in Bangladesh are professional and not going to feel any pressure. Do you agree?
Uh, my answer is yes and no. First of all, it was unexpected. It was unbelievable when I heard that Peter Haas, who is always talking about freedom of expression, freedom of press, and fair democratic environment, from him, I didn't expect this kind of statement. And just to mention with this note, he visited our station last within 2 months. And when he was talking to me with my senior colleagues, always he was asking emphasis, are you working in a free environment? And we are always there to encourage freedom of press.
Yeah.
So this kind of statement in future, what I'm thinking now, it might really create an atmosphere of fear and anxiety. It may lead to the barring access in future. As you mentioned in your introduction, we have a very crucial election coming up. It might bar some of our colleagues to get access of the electoral system. When the election going on, the sometime administration or some whoever the participating that election, ruling party or opposition, they might also get a kind of boost up that the media should not get all kind of access to get the fair reporting. So
Okay.
that is my fear, honestly speaking.
Okay. In light of this, do you think it's appropriate for such a high ranking official to come out with a statement like this?
As I said, it was unexpected and unbelievable because we also have interaction with Peter Haas, with my brother Deep
Yes.
Azad, and all senior colleagues. As I mentioned, when he visited our station, he supported us that you are doing tremendous job, not only your television, most of the media, all of the media, they are working for freedom of expression. So when first I heard, I couldn't believe, so I have to listen again. And unfortunately, next day on their page, they also give you explanation. Yes, I thought it's a by mistake, but next day
Yes,
they also give you explanation. No, it is true. Media might be on that list in future. But I want to mention again, within 24 hours, Mr. Miller from Washington,
yes,
D.C., one of our journalist colleague, they asked that question, but Mr. Miller said point blank, no, media will not be on that restriction list. So
yes.
that is
And in
kind of
fact,
hope.
many people have pointed out that he did not directly deny it and nor did he directly accept it. Does that leave any room for vagueness here?
Yes, it is. It is. But personally, I believe, as my brother Mr. Deepazat said, our journalist community always we work for within freedom. We work with our own policy. Our policy just to promote democracy. Our policy just to promote freedom of expression. Our policy is to promote press freedom. And our constitution in Bangladesh, as a citizen of Bangladesh, on Article 39, it ensures our freedom of expression and freedom of press. So we follow our constitution. We will
Hmm.
not listen to anybody's direction or prescription. But as a good friend, because I also want to mention, now we're living in a global village. United
Hmm.
States is a role model of freedom of expression. Their First Amendment right gives the right for the freedom of expression, freedom of press. So from that, who is representing such a great country, that
Hmm.
ambassador will be speaking about this kind of restriction. It is really unexpected, and I believe within short time, I will expect he will give clarification or he might withdraw his previous speech or statement.
Okay. So the Bangladesh journalistic community does expect a clarification from Peter Haas, the US ambassador to Bangladesh. Everyone wants to go down to the grassroots level, get the stories from there, the election stories. And I've seen what the kind of newsroom buzz there is when journalists are planning their editorial stories. So let's say in the future scenario that you were talking about, you're planning coverage, a series of election related articles and stories, and the kind of buzz that the journalists bring in, excited about, okay, I'll do this story. I want to bring in this interview from this candidate. Do you see any kind of self censorship happening where media will be more guarded that, I don't know, if I do this story, will there be a repercussion?
As I mentioned, till today, we are following our own policy. But as I mentioned, my any reporter, political reporter, or any diplomatic correspondent, they might have, because they are young reporters,
Yes.
men and women, they have a dream to visit whole world, not only America, anywhere. So that might work indirectly. Even my policy says you write, you report what you see. But in their mind, if that fear works, I'm afraid that I cannot portray the real picture of our society, of our election movement, or total election process. So in that case, democracy will be the loser. Our country will be the loser. So I think this kind of prescription, this kind of advice, our people will not take it. Our journalist community will not take it. As an organizer or team leader, personally, definitely I will not take it.
Hmm. Definitely. So what you're trying to say is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the symbolic message that this kind of a statement has given will have indirect ripple effects on, let's say, young journalists who want to travel the world and do their stories. But somewhere there might be self censorship, or there might be an actual hurdle in traveling to those countries if this kind of a symbolic message comes across.
You're absolutely right.
Okay. Okay. I also want to know your thoughts on two facts. One, that the US Embassy, when it announced it, it said that it will, and I'm quoting from the announcement here, that it will not reveal the names or numbers of people in Bangladesh subjected to the visa restrictions. And two, it said that it will not reveal the process by which it will determine who gets those restrictions. And the actual quote here is that They have extensive, well resourced, fact checked, and credible information about those undermining the democratic process in Bangladesh. Do you think it's a bit too much and there is a lack of transparency?
Uh, yes, because what happened personally, I think there's a visa policy. Every country they have their visa policy. I don't have any comment on this one. United States, Canada, United Kingdom, or any European country, even Bangladesh, we have our own visa policy. You can go through this one. But when you announce subjected to other countries, either democratic process or any other process, that really gives a different connotation, different explanation that you are using for some other reason.
Hmm.
So in that case, personally, I think every country, people will decide their democratic process. People will
Hmm.
decide free and fair election how it will be conducted. You can also, after election, you can give your comment on it as an observer. If you're sending observer, the observer gives report. You can do that. But before election, if you're giving like you'll get this if you don't get this, this is like it is a colonialism. It is like
Yeah.
another like senior bosses giving direction to their junior bosses. So country doesn't work like that. I think
Hmm.
America is a great nation. Always they said that is a big democratic country. Like India is a big democratic country. We never interfere what's going on in India, or India never comes and talks about how Bangladesh should do their election or any other country. But
Hmm.
as an observer, when you're visiting, you may say that we always want a democratic process should be run and everybody should have their right. So that kind of not advice, suggestion, or expectation we can receive. But if you are making any subjective policy, that really gives a different impression to our people. As a media people, media person, we talk to the mass people. Mass
Hmm.
people, they have two reaction. Mass people, first of all, they think this is a advice coming from authoritarian government, authoritarian authority, or
Yes.
they, personally, I don't care because it is
Yeah.
my, I will make my decision. But as
Hmm.
you mentioned, answer your second part, yes. In America, they have a policy, they have a privacy act. We also have our privacy act. If
Yes.
I get rejected or somebody else get rejected, I should not know his or her name. This is okay. But when you are saying, making announcement over and over, we have a list, will not disclose it, will not
Hmm.
do, we have all this evidence. Our whole government is working here. You have an embassy. How many people working on that embassy? How you
Yes.
can get this data verified with that few people with 170 million people country? This is little challenging for me and unbelievable to me that you can do fact check for 170 million people sitting with couple hundred officer or expert officer in any embassy. I'm not talking about American embassy only. So
Yes.
it sounds a little bit unrealistic. So I should personally expect Bangladesh believe in a foreign policy, friendship to all, malice to none. United States is a good friend of ours. We have good trade relationship and all kind of relationship. We have a big number of students. They goes there for studying, and being a big country, America is a more role model for any other democratic country. But
Yes.
if
This
it
kind
the
of messaging itself is kind of
communication and
undermining the democratic election process.
respect should be two-way.
Hmm.
You should not, I'm respecting you and you do bossing. It doesn't sounds and looks good to general people.
Yes. And it's not fair. It's really not fair. And this kind of a symbolic messaging is also, in a way, kind of undermining the democratic election process if it's going to impact the sentiment of every single citizen in the country. And especially media curbs and getting the media under the restriction policy is plainly speaking, is quite unfair. I
Actually,
also want to bring, yes,
I want to mention another, just one sentence. Just a few weeks back, we have a G20 conference just next door neighbor. India hosted that such a wonderful big event. And our Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, went there. an American president, Joe Biden was there. And he came up and they have an open, friendly selfie. And it
Yes.
covers the whole, every single media in Bangladesh and also in India or some other country. So
Yes,
that
the
gives
selfie went viral.
such a good relationship between two leaders. But when their State Department or any other executive, senior executive, this a different message, that really brings a question: which one is true, the top ones or middle one or bottom one?
Yes, quite a confusing state there. And you mentioned India. I also want to bring in the case in point of Mir Afroz Rahman, a journalist based in Bangladesh who works for Indian National News Agency. But his SARC visa was cancelled, apparently, as some reports point out, under the new US visa policy. What kind of message is it giving out to journalists in Bangladesh?
Uh, Personally, as I mentioned, that any kind of restriction to any journalist, not only in Bangladesh, anywhere in this globe, it brings a fear to other journalist community, to any country. So
Hmm.
this is definitely, it will bring a negative, as I mentioned, negative impact, and it will really impose unseen self-censorship, which contradicts our spirit of press freedom, our spirit of democratic process, our spirit of freedom of expression.
Okay. Well, I want to take a quick pause here and uh, give out a message to our live viewers. Thank you for sending in your comments and questions. I'm going to pick a few ones and take them to Monzerul. So, sir, there is one question from Dhaka which has come in, which is what is the main interest of America regarding Bangladesh? Is it only free and fair election or something else?
I believe it is not only free and fair election, because now, as I mentioned, we're living in a global village. America is a huge power, so yes, it is freedom of expression, democracies, or free and fair election is one of the agenda. But besides that, they have interest Indo-Pacific region, how they want to deal with whole region, and what is Bangladesh is playing role with other neighbors, especially if I mention openly with China and India and other countries, they are following this way. And second, I will mention Bangladesh also is a big business partner with United States, strategic partner with the United States. So besides moral partnership, which is democracy, we also have strategic and business interest with United States, and they also have same interest with Bangladesh, I believe. So that's why they're not looking only for free and fair election, because I don't want to go through detail. In some other country, when they talked about free and fair election and
Hmm.
only they want to help democratic process, some other country, some of the country I can mention, we didn't have the very good experience.
Hmm. Well, I want to ask you to elaborate a little bit. You've seen so many elections in the past. Can you compare? This isn't the first time the free and fair election agenda has popped up. Can you compare it to the last time and elaborate on what you feel has happened before and is happening now?
Honestly speaking, if I compare at least the last three election, 2014,
Hmm.
2018, and this year 2024, 2014 they have a almost similar move. Not only America, there is a few Western country. They have a Tuesday club. Some ambassador of around 20 plus country. They started moving around. Election time, I see the very active movement of ambassadors, which is okay if you want to encourage, but it is okay if it is not okay when you want to dictate a politics of another country. So, but anyway, 2014, people went for their own way, and
Hmm.
politicians they made their own decision. One
Hmm.
political party they didn't join, but other political parties they joined, so election happened.
Hmm.
2018, I didn't see that much activity, honestly speaking. But this
Okay.
year, suddenly, we have seen extra activity almost a year from today.
Hmm.
But people think, most of our people think, last 15 years, Bangladesh has become very far, if I say from economic development, social
Hmm.
indicators, and all other indicators, all parameter Bangladesh is moving ahead. From
Hmm.
least developing developed country, Bangladesh is developing country now, middle income
Yes.
country now. So that progress make, and Bangladesh is 37th economic force, if I say, out of world. So it will become even closer from one, which is between 20 to 30 will be next another 5 to 10 years. So
Hmm.
that's why Bangladesh now is a important country around the globe.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
that is one of the reason that not only United States, some other big country, I would say China, Russia, and some European country, they are
Hmm.
also showing interest because they want to, as I mentioned, besides the political, they want to have strategic and business partnership with Bangladesh.
Yes, yes, absolutely. You mentioned last 15 years, and in the last 15 years, another thing that has really seen huge growth is, especially during election time, is fake news, misinformation, disinformation. How big a challenge do you see that in this season?
This will be the worst. We had
Oh,
14 and 18 also, but this year, you're absolutely right. This will be the worst because I have seen now, even when we started talking about the visa policy, the on social media there's a name, tremendous lists coming out one after another, which is fake,
hmm.
I believe. So,
Yeah,
that gives also fear to the political community, political leaders, political
yes,
followers, workers, and other professionals, even bureaucrats, and even some businessmen.
yes.
Last thing is the media too. So yesterday somebody showed me there is a big list, which my name also includes there. But I think that most of the list, no editor left over from there. So it's surprising. And so, as you mentioned, yes, uh, when
Yes,
as soon as we see the election schedule is there, we'll see more this kind of fake news and rumors will be there because our national media, our mass media, we are competing with the social media now. Because social media,
absolutely.
one person can do anything, they can express anything, they can upload any picture. So that
Hmm.
is Bangladesh become digital Bangladesh now. So 11, almost 110 million people they have devices in their hand. So 110 million people have their own media. So we are fighting with that social media with mass media. So we have a
Yes.
big challenge. But again, I think our people are also getting more educated. Our education rate also increased. So people will make their own decision. I believe they will make right choice too.
I have another interesting question coming in. This is from Wasim Sadman from Dhaka. Thank you for sending in your question. And the question is there another party that could be fueling the United States' interests in being so vocal about free and fair election in Bangladesh?
Is there? Sorry. What was the first
Is
word? I missed that. I didn't hear it.
Yes. So this is an interesting question. Is America doing this on its own interests, or is there another party, a third party, or a third country that could be fueling America to take this stand about being so vocal about free and fair elections in Bangladesh?
Tulika, it is open. It is open because we have seen the opposition leaders. Not, I don't want to mention name. Whenever some big party they are not in a government, we have seen they have wrote article on their own name just to stop importing garments or business, stop doing business with Bangladesh. It is on
Hmm.
record. And just last few months, we have seen a huge number of congressmen. They are writing a statement on behalf of specific party. We have seen when we are our present government was executing war criminals. We have seen this political leader from United States. They are giving phone call statement to stop execution. So that is, and later on, it is open then it is like lobbying firm. They real help. So it came on our newspaper. They're spending millions of dollars for that one. And even yesterday, when one of the lawmaker, he was accused 2 days back in United States, and who brought that bill to bring sanction on RAB, that person now convicted in United States for bribery. So that kind of news also coming on the media, and our people knows that. But this is unfortunate. It doesn't matter who is now in the opposition. So our some political leaders, parties, they also really help, or they get involved with this. So which is against, I believe, our national interest. It is not good for our
Okay.
democracy.
Okay.
Not for good for their interest
Okay.
also.
I have another question coming in. I have another question coming in from Julhas Uddin. He's also sending his question from Dhaka. And he says, isn't it a biased decision by the United States?
Which one? The visa policy, or
The US visa policy restrictions.
it is, personally, I cannot make comment on this one because their own policy, as I mentioned earlier, visa policy, they can have their own. But, when you bringing the visa policy for to do particular some uh, good thing or bad thing in another country, that really gives a mixed message. It gives a different message. So I think you can do your own visa policy with another country too. But when you're bringing that this policy only for certain election procedure, so after election, if somebody does commit any crime, you will give a visa to the criminal. So that raises that kind of question. So I personally, I think that is their policy, but they should be more uh, decent, I would say personally.
Okay. Okay, so they should be more decent. And I'll take one final question. This is from Sauda Mehbooba Rehman. Thank you for sending in your query. And she's asking how fair it is to impose bans on another country's internal affairs while their own, that is the United States' own election process, is not free and fair.
That is the question now all over the places in our country and also other part of the world. They are raising this question. So I don't know. This answer should be coming from spokesman of United States. I cannot give this answer.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you to our live audiences for bringing in your queries. I also, what about the fact, Mr. Bonchero, about many people say that they don't care about the US visa policy curbs, especially from the media community, because they don't plan to travel to the United States and they are okay handling their country's internal affairs and reports. What do you have to say about that?
No, because as I mentioned, America is a big country, a big democratic country, is a country of opportunity. It used to be level like that. A lot of citizens, they want to send their kids for good education. So America was a respected name as a country. But this kind of activity, it really gives a gray line over that level. So I will say yes, but it is true. 170 million people is our population. It is not like more than a million people. There, 169 million people. They don't have intention or ability or any kind of plan to visit America near future. Yes, Bangladesh now. If you are not going, because a lot of people they are never visited America, so they're living, they're well off, they have a good education from other country or in our own education system. So yes, if you don't even, I just want to mention our just immediate past Chief Justice mentioned, I never visited United States. I don't have to visit. So I personally, I don't think this kind of comment gives a good image of United States of America, which was before. That really brings a little bit down to American image.
Okay. So you're saying times are changing and it can really backfire on the United States' own image by taking a stand like this. And do you think it will really, the US visa policy restrictions, will it really have an impact on the electoral process, on the elections? Too much is being made of it. Is it that big a deal?
Honestly, I don't think so. Because as I mentioned, in 2014, we have seen the other activity, and other election we have seen activity. But our people always take their own decision, and politician takes their own decision. I want to mention the last thing. During 1971, big country like United States, big country like China, they were against our liberation war. But our people fought and they won that liberation war. So end of the
Yes.
day, in a country, any sovereign country, their citizen, they make their own decision.
I'm sorry, I continue to keep getting questions and comments. There is Kusum Rahman who's made an interesting comment that we are moving to China.
Are we moving to China?
Yes,
No, it is
you're the
not true.
best person.
Let me tell. I'm I'm moving to China. Sorry,
No,
what
no,
is it?
there's this comment from Kusum Rahman who says, we, as in Bangladesh, we are
Oh,
moving towards China.
no, 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 no. It is clear. It is clear. Our prime minister, our foreign minister, and all the government. It is from our father of the nation. That is foreign policy till today. Uh, his daughter, our prime minister, also following same foreign policy because it is visible. The friends to all, malice to none. Just last 4 weeks, if you see the movement of our prime minister in BRICS, she has a meeting with the China's president,
Yes,
and G20, she has a meeting with Joe Biden and all European leaders, and Mr. Macron, he visited during right after that G20. And
yes.
the foreign minister of Russia, he visited
Lavrov,
before he
Sergei
joined
Lavrov, he
Lavrov,
visited.
before he
In fact, a
joined
couple of
to
days
G20.
before, the US official Mira Resnick also visited.
No, when we are
So,
talking now, there is a U.S. one of the undersecretary, Eastern undersecretary. She is visiting now in Bangladesh, so you cannot say that. But yes, because friendship to all means if China lives in the globe, so Bangladesh will
hmm,
have some relationship with China, and is a huge economic country. So as a big economic country, we need to do business, some their technological help and other stuff. Because even we want, like we have some breezes, they get a help.
hmm.
We cannot bring that help from United States because coming from United States, engineers and equipments, it will be too expensive for Bangladesh. So
Absolutely. But on a very slight note of disagreement, I completely agree with you on one hand, but foreign policy or politically correct, balanced foreign policy is one thing, and the opinions that your voters get on the ground is a different thing altogether, and that is what that ultimately decides where your vote is going
perception,
to.
perception.
Absolutely.
Just Tulika, I want to mention just to clear my
Yeah.
audience the question. As a journalist, as an observer, as a citizen, what I see, because as I mentioned, last 15 years, the growth of Bangladesh is having. That's why now all developed country, they want to come here invest. And as I said, China is a big economic country, so they have a technology and other financial help, so they come up with. And we always, for the big project, we have open tender, international tender. They
Yes.
also bid with that tender, they participated. So it's a fair game. If you see a country with the lowest number, whatever the country, you have to give the tender to them. I'm not advocating anybody, but I'm telling that probably is the reason, because huge country, now America want to come, China want to come, Russia want to come. We have a nuclear plant, we are doing the power plant with Russia. So
Absolutely.
we are multi versatile, and as I said, America is our one of the biggest partner. If we go through our garments industry, so they're
Hmm.
our largest buyer. So it is not that
Yes.
Bangladesh is doing only for with one country.
Yeah. Well, business and strategic ties are at one end, and political ties are, diplomatic ties are completely different ball game altogether. I have a strong comment coming in from Pravash Pal, and this will be the final comment that I'll take. Who has very strong opinion and is saying that the U.S. visa curbs will not impact Bangladesh elections. He thinks it's nothing but simplicity, or a strong word that he's used for that, of the US government, that they want to hamper Bangladesh elections by curbing visa issues. I think that's what you have been saying on it, but any final thoughts on that?
No, I don't want to say hamper because probably, as I said, big countries sometimes they want to pursue public policy. So the persuasion cannot always, you cannot reach the goal of domination. So I believe, as I said, and I will say it over, finally, our people, our politicians, they will make their own decision and they are the policymaker. But
Yeah.
if in future after election, we'll see, we'll have a election. So if they don't really impose or they don't instigate, we'll have peaceful election. Otherwise, we may not have participatory or peaceful election.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm completely with you on this. And Bangladesh, over the years, has really, really been growing big, geopolitically, very, very significant. And we'll just wait and watch how this unfolds in the near future.
We're hoping for the best.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining us today. Well, you heard it straight from the stalwart today. The freedom of press might take a back seat. There is some immediate concern about it for the future, but the election season is just hotting up. We'll wait and watch how's this season going to unfold. But thank you, Moncheril, for joining us today. It was great
Thank
to
you.
have you.
Thank you, Tolika. It was my pleasure.
Our pleasure as well, sir. And thank you to our live viewers. Thank you for sending in your queries, your questions, and comments. It was great to have you with us. I hope you're going back with a more in depth understanding of what the new US visa policy restrictions really stand for. Please feel free to share your feedback with me on my email, tulika.bhatnagar@pressxpress.org, or DM me on X or Facebook. Till we meet next time, it's Namaste from Tulika.